Welcome to Veteran Resource Podcast, where you will meet nonprofit organizations focused on improving the lives of veterans and their family members. Here is your host, Jeremy Paris.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 78 of the Veteran Resource Podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Paris. On today's episode, we have Dr. Frank Bourke from the Research and Recognition Project. They've been doing some incredible research into PTSD using Neuro-Linguistic Programming, and the results are pretty amazing. Not just from the standpoint of the peer-reviewed research that has been published, but also looking at testimonials from some of the veterans who have gone through this treatment. It's very promising, and I think that you're going to enjoy this episode very much. Dr. Bourke is the executive director of the NLP Research and Recognition Project and coordinator of the NLP Community. After the 9/11 attacks in 2001, Dr. Bourke designed and implemented a rehabilitation plan for 800 World Trade Center building survivors. He found that he was able to change the symptoms of PTS survivors he was treating with the NLP-derived protocol much quicker and more effectively than the 30 or so therapists he was working with. He founded the not-for-profit corporation to advance the science of neuro-linguistic programming and to bring the research up to a scientific standard necessary for more widespread implementation. He brings with him more than 33 years of professional experience in executive, clinical, and research roles. The Research and Recognition Project conducts rigorous, controlled clinical studies to validate therapeutic techniques that support the widespread use of innovative and cost-effective clinical care for traumatic stress and a number of other psychiatric disorders. All right, let's listen to the interview, and I will see you on the other side. Frank, welcome to the Veteran Resource Podcast. How are you doing today?
Really good. I appreciate you inviting me on, Jeremy.
Absolutely. This sounded very, very interesting when I saw it. I'm very happy to have you on. One of the first things that I wanted to find out was just kind of a short description of what the Research and Recognition Project is.
As a quick overview, I went down to 9/11 for a year and found a protocol that worked really, really well with post-traumatic stress. And we've put together about 1,000 people into an organization, a team, to get the protocol is called Reconsolidation of Traumatic Memories, or RTM, researched so that it can be used nationally by the VA, licensed doctors, and the Army, etc.
Okay, great. And I'm looking forward to getting more into that. But before we do, I wanted to get a little bit of background on you. So can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
I'm a 73-year-old duffer who has a job that he wanted when he was 36. I was trained as a research psychologist at the Institute of Psychiatry in London. I'm a PhD psychologist. And I'm doing research on something that's really wonderfully effective for clients and is going to make a real contribution.
Excellent, excellent. The R&R project, when did that actually get started?
We started in 2006, incorporated it as a not-for-profit in 2008. So we've really been running for about 10 years.
Oh, gotcha. And where are you guys located?
All over the country. We've got people in Oregon, California, Midwest, and here in the East. I live in Corning, New York, near Cornell University, where I used to teach.
Oh, okay. I'm from Buffalo. I used to drive through there all the time.
Oh, there you go.
Can you tell me what is the main function of the organization?
It's to get this effective treatment for post-traumatic stress into play across the country, especially for the veterans. You know, what do we got? 400, 500,000 who seriously need it.
Gotcha. Yeah, they absolutely do. And you mentioned RTM before. Can you kind of go into a little bit more of what RTM is?
Yeah, that's actually a hypothesis from the field of neurology that it is based on the research about how post-traumatic stress memories, starting, of course, with animals in the research, can be removed. So reconsolidation is the neurological fashion or hypothesis or process by which traumatically installed memories can be detoxified. The memories are still there, but by changing the images in the actual trauma storage, the video, so to speak, in the brain, we're able to separate the traumatic feelings from the traumatic pictures, videos installed in the brain itself.
Oh, wow. And so when you're doing that, it's relieving which symptoms from people that have PTSD?
The symptoms that are used in DSM-5 to define PTSD: nightmares, flashbacks, and the directly related emotional symptom.
Oh, it helps with all of those.
It's pretty remarkable. And I think one of the reasons why, I followed the research. This was my field, researching therapy, when I was in London 45, 50 years ago, doing my research. And this is remarkable. And I think it's so effective because it's not ordinary therapy, most of which relies on getting the person to use their neocortex to help themselves with a problem. This is an actual traumatic memories, I believe, are not like memories in the neocortex, where you can tell yourself there are no lions in Manhattan in 2015. You're silly to be afraid of them, and you stop being afraid. Whereas in traumatic memories, it doesn't matter what you tell yourself or how you try to stop the traumatic feelings, they won't go away. It's like they were installed genetically in a portion of the brain, so that if a caveman gets attacked by a lion, for the next 40, 50, 60 years, however long he lives, he's going to be either fighting or fleeing from lions, and that's kept alive with nightmares and flashbacks. And it doesn't matter how much you say, well, wait a second, if there's no lions on this island, it still refuses to go away. It's meant by a genetic process, I believe, to be maintained in the reptilian portion of the brain.
Oh, wow.
I think we've spent as a nation over $1 billion trying to find an effective treatment. But I think that most of them attempted to do that with normal, what I would call cognitive therapy or cognitive behavior combination therapies of one form or another. And this is not responsive, which is actually what the research has shown over that $1 billion of expenditure. The research is something like, I'll quote the Journal of the American Association last September 15th, which said very plainly, success as measured by the approved evidence-based treatments for post-traumatic stress, after they're called successful, 2/3 of the people are still diagnosed with post-traumatic stress, and 25% of them in the studies have dropped out. In essence, the treatments that we've been using and searching for over the last 20 years or so just don't work very well. And I think this does because it comes at the brain in this instance, at its neurological source. That's the problem is not cognitive, it's neurological. in terms of the way it's implanted, and the removal is while it does, you're talking and you're changing the images around the traumatic memory, you're really altering the neurology in the hippocampus and the amygdala.
Wow. I'm trying to picture it, and I can see what you're saying where the cognitive therapies, that's pretty much what the VA is using still today, correct?
That's correct. It only works 35%, improving the scores on diagnostic tests. That when the people get done, they still diagnose with all of the approved evidence-based therapies thus far. They still diagnose as having PTSD, and they have the behavioral symptoms. They don't go away. They still have the nightmares, flashbacks, and directly related emotional problems.
Oh, wow. And so you've done a lot of research on this.
No, I wouldn't say we've done a lot. I think that we have another year of really hard research and replication studies to do. Some of it's really getting exciting. What we've done thus far is we've done a pilot of 30 subjects, and then a replication of that with another 30 subjects. And we just finished a second replication in which all of the subjects were women veterans.
Oh, wow.
And those studies have come in, if you can believe it. And I imagine we're talking to a lot of people who know the field. And it's hard for me to even quote the results because at first blush, nobody can really believe it who is associated with it. We're getting like over 88% remission of the diagnosis and the behavioral symptoms in all 3 studies.
Completely?
Yes.
Wow.
It's as a clinician, Jeremy, this is one of the most enriching things I've ever done in my life. I've now done myself I did 250 survivors who were above the 100th floor after 9/11. That's where I recognized that the protocol was really effective. And in the research vein now, I was just doing clinical work with the Aon Corporation for the year after 9/11. They had like 900 survivors from above the 100th floor. And I worked with them for the year after 9/11 to help corporation with the rehabilitation that those folks needed. But since then, I've done about 90 veterans, some of whom, if you can believe it, are Vietnam veterans who've suffered the same nightmare for 45 years. And after 3 to 5 hours, stop and kind of shake and look at me and say, what have you done to me? I haven't been able to think about this or talk about it in 45 years without breaking down. And then when you measure it, the best way that I could suggest, Jeremy, for that, we have about 60 testimonials on the website, written testimonials of men and women. And then we also have 20 or 30 video testimonials from veterans who have been through the protocol and speak it in their own words about what the effect on them was. There's nothing, I'm a research scientist and the numbers mean a lot to me. And these, it's not like we've made these numbers up. The first study is published in a peer-reviewed journal, the Journal for Military Veterans and Family Health, fall 2015. That's a peer-reviewed journal. It's real science. And the second 2 studies are also in the process of being published in peer-reviewed journals. And the numbers in there and the protocol, the description of the protocols, the scientific safety guards, those are all what geeks like myself need to buy in. But for most people, nothing is more powerful than the testimonials of the veterans that are online, both the written ones and the videos that we've put on the website, which is R&rproject.com.
That was randrproject.com.
That's right.
And I'll make sure that I put that in the show notes too.
Great.
And you were saying you just press the testimonials?
Yeah. On the website, one of the buttons, one of the hyperlinks says testimonials. Press that and it'll take you to both the written and the video versions.
Okay, great. Obviously, this you're still doing the pilot testing on this, and there's still more research that you said needs to be done. Once that is done, what can somebody expect if they were thinking about in the future this was available, and they were going to be trying to take advantage of this? What would this look like to them? Are they sitting in a room, sitting in a chair? Like, what does it look like for the person that is doing it?
The way I describe it, Jeremy, is as a re-imaging therapy. So essentially, what you're doing, you're in a therapy type room, just with chairs or whatever, and you're asking, first you're getting the client to what's called dissociate, which means not feel what's going on in their body. To be looking at, let's say you went to a horror movie. If you were terrified, you would actually be inside the room with Frankenstein, would be the way you perceived it. If you were dissociated, you'd be aware that you're sitting in the movie chair, that there are people around you, and that you're looking at an image on a screen. You're not actually in the scene. You're dissociated from it and watching it without being in it, if I can say it that way, without living it as if it's happening to you.
Gotcha.
So that's associated and dissociated. So the protocol does a number of things to get you dissociated. Literally, gets you watching the traumatic movie from the projection booth of a movie theater, and then looking out the plexiglass at you sitting in the movie theater, watching a screen with stylized pictures on it. And what you do, if I could say it this way, I used that analogy before of being terrified by a lion and carrying that your whole life. Well, that memory gets implanted in a very concrete, specific, and identical fashion. And whenever you recall it, seeing the same exact pictures, movies, sounds, feelings, etc. And when you are able to let's say, look at that lion and transform it from its normal color to black and white, or from normal size, you may be picturing it 3 feet away from you with its mouth open, and now you alter it and make it look 50 yards away, running backwards away from you. In those re-imagings, if you're able to do them, you've changed the way that it's stored in memory. And neurologically, and that's why I call this a neurological change, that breaks the connection between the actual traumatic movie or images and the feelings. And you can still remember what happened to you, actually oftentimes much more clearly, but it no longer is paired to the horrible feelings of terror that have been associated with it for you since you were traumatized. And, you understand I've explained this at this point to thousands of people, and the reaction is why, how? And the answer is, it's the way that the memories, the pictures, are neurologically stored, not in the neocortex, but in the other part of the brain connected to the amygdala. It doesn't work there, the storage, retrieval, remembering, and forgetting, the same way it does in our neocortex. Essentially, it's put in there, and you don't get to change it. And what the protocol does is enable you to change it in terms of its actual pictures, let's say in black and white or further away or upside down or Mickey Mouse ears or whatever. Any changes that you can make to it and be not frightened, dissociated, then break the neurological connection. And it doesn't sound like therapy because it's not traditional, cognitive therapy where you're in control. Half the people, the veterans that I do, stop and shake and when the effect happens and say, what have you done to me? What's just happened? I feel different. And then go on to realize that they can sleep, the nightmares stop, the flashbacks stop. And most importantly, we test it, see. At the beginning, if you get someone who's really carrying a traumatic memory, 90% of them can't talk about it without reliving the feelings. So that's actually how we diagnose the people that the protocol works best on.
Wow.
We ask them to talk about their trauma, and they begin to break down, cry, shake, blush, etc., hesitate. Then we know that we've got an appropriate subject. Then we run the protocol, and the way we test it is we say, could you do me a favor and tell me about that traumatic incident again in greater detail? And they start to talk about it. And, after they've gone for 2 or 3 minutes, they'll either say, holy Moses, what have you done to me? Or I'll say, does this feel any different? You're a retelling of it now. And they'll say, I haven't been able to talk about this like this for 2 years, 5 years, since the trauma. It's a remarkable thing clinically, Jeremy, and it sounds like snake oil.
It actually sounds really fascinating, and I love the fact that you've already have this in peer-reviewed journals, and it's now at the point where it's going to be taken seriously, and your further research is going to assist with that, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. Right now, the next research we actually do start again next month. We did a pre-pilot in Jeff Lewine's neurology laboratory in the University of New Mexico. Jeff is one of the foremost neurology researchers in PTSD in the world. And what we're doing is we've done 4 subjects, and we're going back to do another 4, and then we're going to publish that. But using EEG, which is a measure of different waves in the brain, Jeff has identified what a PTSD affected person looks like in an EEG format. And what we have are EEG pictures of the brain before and after. And it's remarkable. I mean,
wow.
It essentially shows that neurologically, the waveforms are very, very different. And we hope to have that done and published in October.
Awesome. That is great. And after the research is done, down the road, when all of the research is done and you're satisfied with the research, what are the next steps for the R&R project?
We're committed to getting it, first of all, to our 400,000 or 500,000 recent veterans, as well as the Vietnam veterans who come out of the woodwork, as soon as possible. And to do that, we have to finish the research, get it classified as evidentiary medicine, and we're hoping to have that review this January. Then we're developing training manuals, and we'd like to train as to sort of national training program for 10 or 20,000 therapists across the United States, including those in the VA, and teach them how to administer the protocol. It's not something that you can learn in 10 minutes. It probably will take 2 or 3 weekends, and we want to do it in a fashion that we make sure that the people being trained can really do it. So it's probably, and I hate to say this, I imagine a lot of your listeners are saying, oh boy, here's something that could enable me to sleep and get rid of these nightmares and flashbacks, etc. But we're not probably going to have this available for national dissemination for at least another year and a half. And I apologize for that. It's just a real nightmare in this area of research and in this treatment clinical area to get anything done effectively or quickly.
Well, that is the bad news, obviously, but the good news is that there's hope. That's something that I'm hoping that the listeners get out of this.
I do as well, because in that we've spent it's taken us literally 10 years to get here and be able to publish the research that you heard. We've had $28 million worth of university-sponsored grants to research this thing turned down by the VA and the federal agencies that approve research grants. We actually have been able on an economic shoestring on, I call it economic fumes. We've gotten $1.3 million from New York State, the Blue Angels, the Tawani Foundation, which are foundations that have, and the Blue Angels that have helped us pay for this research. But actual members of the project have donated in time and money over $3 million. So the bulk of the money to get us here has come from believers, retired veterans, businessmen who saw the protocol, legislators, especially from New York State, who recognize that this is the breakthrough that's needed nationally and have put their shoulder to it. The next phase, which is getting the thing out to the veterans who need it, entails training as many therapists, to do the administration as quickly and effectively as we can. And that's going to be a $3 or $4 million additional cost that we're running like heck to raise that money now. That's along with finishing the research and getting the RTM classified as evidentiary medicine. Raising that money and developing the training materials is the bulk of what the team is doing now.
And that kind of leads into the last question I'm going to ask you before the final three, and that is, how can our listeners help your organization?
I'm hoping that, and one of the reasons I agreed to do the show, Jeremy, is that, first of all, you can come onto the website and donate directly. But I'm sure that a lot of the listeners know people who are in foundations, in veterans organizations, who are giving to help solve this problem. And if they could connect those agencies and wealthy veterans, et cetera, to the project, we're in real need of money. As I said, to get where we've gotten should have cost something like $10 million. And we've done it on $1.3 million worth of grants and $3.5 million worth of our money and effort. While that sounds wonderful, it's taken us 10 years to do that, Jeremy. And we can't afford to take another 10 years to get this thing out and across the United States. Having done the research, we're hoping that people will recognize that this is real, how badly it's needed, and give us the money to develop the training materials and then do the actual training across the states. And I should finish by saying, I'm working with a group of people that are, I'm an old character, an old Boy Scout, let's call me, Jeremy. And we have a real not-for-profit. We've got a bunch of generals, businessmen, clinicians, and veterans, who are doing this the old-fashioned way. Honestly, no one's making any money off of this thing. My average salary over the last 10 years has been $16,000 a year.
Wow.
What I'm trying to say is that we're doing this in the right spirit of a not-for-profit. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm hoping that there's listeners out there that are listening to this and they do have those connections and they're able to help out with this, because this is definitely much needed.
They can get to us through the website, Jeremy, R&amp.com.
Excellent. And I will make sure that I put that in the show notes.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Okay, and the final 3 questions now. The first one is, who would you like to hear on a future episode of the Veteran Resource Podcast?
One of the leaders in the veteran field with real integrity that I don't think is in the background, not many people know. He's a Medal of Honor winner from the Vietnam War. His name is Paul Bourke, B-U-C-H-A. And he's old school. He's our kind of people. I think your readers would really benefit from meeting him and hearing his take on the whole veterans problem and its solution. You know, that we need to get moving here.
Excellent. I will try to reach out to Paul. Question number 2. What upcoming project has you fired up right now?
Oh, I'm so excited about getting the training program going, and getting this out to the therapists who are working with veterans without appropriate tools, and seeing this as a tool that's really going to benefit them in their clinical work and the veterans that they're working for in a way that it will make all of them very, very happy and enriched.
I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to hitting that milestone. Okay, and the final question is, if you woke up tomorrow and you found out that somebody made an anonymous donation of $10 million to your organization, what would you do with it?
I'd be opening a training in 20 or 30 cities starting in January. Training for therapists to administer the protocol.
Very nice. So for that person with the money, or if you know somebody who has the money, make sure you get over to R&rproject.com. Is that correct? R&rproject.com?
That's it, Jeremy.
Great. And you can donate right there. And like I said, I will make sure that I put that in the show notes for everybody. You can get right over to the website and check out the testimonials. Like he said, they've got written and also video testimonials. And I'm going to be checking some of those out, and I'll be sharing some of those over social media as well. Frank, thank you so much for being on the show and telling us all about the Research and Recognition Project. I had no idea that this kind of research was going on right now.
I appreciate the invitation, Jeremy, and thank you. I love the way you did the questions and walked through the whole thing. I think it gives the information that's necessary to make it well-grounded for the people listening. Thanks a million.
Thank you so much for listening to episode 78. As always, make sure you go and check out the show notes. They're at veteranresourcepodcast.com/078. And not only did I put Frank's picture and bio and some links to get to the website and Facebook and things like that, but I also embedded one of the videos that has some of the veterans who are talking about their progress and what they experienced. It is the true testimonials from some of the veterans who have been treated. So I would love for you to go to the show notes and check that out, and then go and get plugged into the research that they are doing over at the Research and Recognition Project. If you have any ties to any other organizations that might want to partner up or help out Frank and the organization in any way, please put them in touch. I know a lot of you out there are plugged into a lot of different organizations. So partnerships and collaboration is what gets things done. Let's try to put some of these organizations together and see if we can help everybody out as a whole. That's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for listening. I will see you tomorrow for the Thought Leader episode. Create an awesome day.